And good morning. We are thrilled to welcome Deb Crone, the Frog Lady, back to our library on our virtual stage. The Frog Lady is a popular visitor to our library, and we're excited she's able to join us today from home. The Frog Lady turned her love of animals and nature into a career. She visits schools and libraries with her animal friends to help us learn about the role all animals play in our world and the importance of conservation. I'm excited to see which of her friends we get to meet today. A big Vernon area welcome to Deb, the Frog Lady. Good morning, Deb.
Hello, how are all of you today? I'm gonna assume you're all great because it's a beautiful sunny day, right? Beautiful sun coming in. I think we all need that. So yes, I am Frog Lady. I am a naturalist. So that's somebody who studies nature. I went to school for wildlife biology, and I have loved animals my whole life. I wanted to do a job with them my whole life. And so as a naturalist, you work with nature, you work with wildlife. I decided to start my own company about 10 years ago because I have so much love for amphibians and reptiles. I have several animals that I have rescued or adopted, and I use them to teach people about how amazing these animals are. And so today we're going to look at some of them, and hopefully you'll see how cool they are. I think most people that come to this program have already a like, if not a love, for these animals. So if you already like them, you're just gonna like them more today. If you're on the fence and you're like, I'm just checking these out because I'm kind of freaked out about them, I think hopefully today you'll have a new outlook. Okay, so we are going to start off with amphibians. Now, amphibians are the slimy and the wet. They're the animals that have metamorphosis. Okay, so metamorphosis is, and of course, the one animal I have that is not slimy and wet is my furry little dog, Cisco von Schnitzel. So hopefully he will behave himself today and not bark. It's like the time I think that everybody starts coming around, and he wants to let everyone know. But actually, we'll use him for just a second. You can see he's full of fur and he's warm-blooded. He's everything that an amphibian is not. Amphibians are slimy, and they are wet, and they go through this metamorphosis. So they have these gooey eggs. The eggs hatch, they turn into a tadpole, back legs come out, then front legs, the tail shrinks, it's absorbed, and then the adult amphibian comes. So let's take a look at one of my biggest amphibian. I'm going to go ahead and get my hands just a little bit wet here because these amphibians have that wet, moist skin. They drink water through their skin. They also can absorb chemicals off your hands through their skin. We have chemicals like salt and oils and things like that on our hands. And so when we touch amphibians, we want to make sure we get our hands wet so they absorb that. All right, take a look at this beauty. This is my friend Jabba the Hutt. If any of you are Star Wars fans, I think you'll understand why he has that. This is an African bullfrog, and African bullfrogs are some of the largest frogs in the world. This is the second largest frog in the world. This frog, in particular, Jabba, he's only about 1.5 pounds, but believe it or not, these frogs can get up to 3.5 pounds, which is a lot of frog. So they do come from Africa. They blow themselves up into even bigger shape, and he's doing it a little bit now. He's kind of puffed himself up. They put some air into those lungs and puff, and that kind of shows their predators or any animal that might wants to eat them that they're big and bad and scary, and you don't want to mess with them. Now, they're really not big and bad and scary. There's not much that an African bullfrog can do to a human, but to another animal that might want to eat it, that big size might make that predator want to go away. So that's Jabba the Hutt. Look at how big he is. Oh, and he just sprayed some water. Yes, lots of frogs as a defense will spray water. It's kind of like peeing. And they do that to scare, again, predators into letting them go. So if you ever have a frog outside and you grab it or you hold it, you might get a little bit of water sprayed on you. It's really not pee, it's just water that they store just for that defense, okay? Now, Jabba is beautiful to me, but I think sometimes people don't view him as the most gorgeous frog in the world. So I have found that people absolutely adore one of my tree frogs that is very pretty. I'm going to go ahead and wake her up and bring her out here. Most frogs are nocturnal, so during the day they like to sleep. And so it's daytime right now, so we kind of have to wake them up a little bit so that they'll be on camera. Now, this is the red-eyed tree frog. Look at those beautiful red eyes. She has orange feet, the blue and yellow on her sides there. All those colors are telling us that she is a poisonous frog, that we don't want to eat her. Frogs don't have teeth to bite. They don't have claws to scratch, so they have to use other ways to protect themselves. They'll use that water squirting for sure, but other frogs will use other tactics. And this one tries to tell us that she's poisonous. Now, she has no poison whatsoever. She's pretending. It's kind of like when you dress up for Halloween, right? You pretend to be something scary, but in real life, she is completely non-poisonous and has nothing to hurt us with. So she shows us those colors just to pretend that she is, so we won't eat her. Now, you see those really sticky feet? Tree frogs have really sticky feet so that they can climb trees. They spend most of their life up in the trees. So those sticky feet help her jump from leaf to leaf and branch to branch. That way she won't fall. Now, do you see that chin going in and out on her? You might have seen it on Jabba as well. That is a frog breathing. They actually get most of their air through their skin. So you see that little chin moving in and out. That's how she is breathing right now. That goes to show you how thin the skin is. It's how it can also get water through that and any chemicals that they sit on, or again, if they're in our hands and we have chemicals in our hands like bug spray or sunscreen, that can be pretty dangerous to them. So that's the red-eyed tree frog. By the way, they live in Central America. They live in rainforests. We have tree frogs right here though. This is a little tree frog called the gray tree frog. Now he might jump, so we'll have to see if I can hold him. But the gray tree frog is one of ours. It lives right here in the forests of Illinois. It is gray, but sometimes has some green color as well. So if you see something that looks like this but has a green color, it's still the gray tree frog. They live all over the Chicago area in our forests. As long as there is a pond nearby, then they're happy. So they sing in the spring too. It's beautiful. They make a little sound. And this little guy, he will actually sing in my basement where he lives. So you'll hear him all spring singing his little heart out. Now, what he's singing for is a girlfriend. So anytime you hear a frog singing, you know they're singing to girls. It's always the girls that sing. It's not the boys. This little guy, maybe if I get him close, look at his face. This is called the waxy tree frog. And I feel like he looks a little bit like Baby Yoda. He's kind of got that Baby Yoda, the Grogu look. Waxy tree frogs come from South America, and they actually like it a little bit hotter than all our other tree frogs. Most tree frogs like it kind of 70, 75 degrees. Humid's okay, but they don't like it super hot. This one actually likes to bask in the sun, and they do like some heat. So that's pretty cool. All right. How about a frog that is poisonous? It doesn't really look poisonous. If you look at this frog, would you think that this is a poisonous frog? This is a toad, and all toads have poison. This is the American toad, and they actually live right around here. This is one of our most common frogs in the Chicago area. But all toads have poison. They have these little glands. There's one right there and one right there. And those glands, if I were to squeeze that, you would see little white, it looks kind of like pus come out. And that's the poison. If I was an animal and I thought this looked good to eat, I got it in my mouth, my teeth would pop that open. The poison would come out, it would taste awful, and I would spit that out. And he would go on to live another day. So most animals try a toad just once because they remember how awful that poison tastes and they never do it again. So you can see his little throat going on there too, his little breathing. Let's see. I don't know. We tried earlier to see if he would eat for us. Now, normally he is just the best eater in front of everybody. But we'll see if he has any interest today. That is a waxworm, by the way, and you see it moving. It has to move. Bugs have to be alive for a frog to be interested. If I were to throw a dead bug, or if that bug doesn't move at all, he's not going to have any interest in it. He has to have some movement for him to want to eat it. So all frogs are carnivores. That means they all are meat eaters, and bugs are types of meat. So mostly bugs, but frogs really aren't limited to bugs. They'll eat anything that, and he's going to ignore it. Darn. But they'll eat anything that can fit in their mouth as long as they can swallow it whole. If it's too big to swallow, they won't eat it. Again, they don't have teeth. They can't chew their food, so they have to swallow everything whole. All right. Let's look at one more amphibian before we move to the reptiles. Now, this is not a frog, but this is an amphibian. It has all those same characteristics. It means it has all those same things that frogs have that make an amphibian. It goes through metamorphosis, it's slimy, it's wet, breathes through its skin, drinks through its skin. Does anyone know what that is? Look at how slimy. I love this. This is a salamander. Now this is called the paddle-tail newt, and the paddle-tail newt has a very paddle-like tail. Like if you were ever to row a boat and you have your paddle, it helps you get through the water, right? Well, this guy loves the water, lives in the water, underneath the water most of the time, and uses that tail to swim around. So the paddle-tail newt comes from Asia, and it does have poison. It's not anything that's going to make me sick by touching it. Most salamanders, the poison is on the inside, and you really have to chew or try to eat it for the poison to get into you. People don't eat salamanders, so even if they are poisonous, it's not really anything that would hurt a person because touching it isn't going to put poison on my hands. All right. So that's the paddle-tail newt, super slimy. It's very hard to hold on to. So if you guys have ever played with like Orbeez, that's what they feel like. Wet Orbeez, real slimy. Or if maybe you've ever had like a gummy bear or a gummy worm and you have it in your mouth, but then you pull it back out, it's that slimy. Okay. So how about some reptiles? Now, reptiles are totally different from amphibians. The only thing they really share is that they're cold-blooded and that they're vertebrates. So that means they have both amphibians and reptiles have bones, and they're both cold-blooded, so they can't make their own temperature. They rely on the sun to warm them or like a heating lamp. They can't make their own heat, all right? But other than that, reptiles and amphibians are super different. So you saw those amphibians are very slimy, but our reptile friends are very scaly. Does anyone know who this guy is? This is my friend, the bearded dragon. Bearded dragons are one of the most popular reptile pets, especially for kids, because they're really, really easy to take care of, and they're super mellow. So mellow is like when you're laid back and you're chill. Bearded dragons love to just hang out with you. So they'll like sit on your shoulder. If you're reading a book that you got from the library, they love to hear it. They'll watch movies, they'll play video games with you, and they don't hog the controller. You can just sit there and play, and they'll hang out with you all day, right? Now, why are they bearded dragons? Do they have fur like a beard? No, reptiles don't have any hair. But if you see his chin, all these nice little pricklies here, that can turn black and puff out, and it looks like a beard. They do that for a defense. So if something's trying to eat them or hurt them in some way, they'll puff out their chin, it turns black. It's almost instant. They can do it very quickly. And then they'll look scary to that animal that's trying to hurt it or eat it. So again, it's a defense. They will use it sometimes to talk to each other. Sometimes if a boy beardy sees another boy beardy, they'll do that. They'll be like, hey, this is my house, this is my territory, you got to get out. Sometimes the boys will do it to the girls to be like, see how handsome I am. But mostly it's used as a defense. Okay. So he is one of my favorites, little Lenny here, and he's probably only about 2 years old. He's not a super big beardy. Most beardies don't get really big, but he is a little bit smaller than your average beardy, and I don't know why. I mean, he's got a little chunk to him there. It's just like he didn't grow out as much as his belly. So they come from Australia. This lizard also comes from Australia. This is called the blue-tongued skink. And at first, doesn't it look like a snake? If you saw me holding this at first, you might be like, ah, it's a snake. But if you look real close, there are some legs, back legs and front legs. But the main way to tell a snake from a lizard are these holes right here. Because there are some lizards in the world that have no legs whatsoever. We call them legless lizards. But all lizards have ears and no snakes have ears. So if you see anything with that, you know it's a lizard. Now, the blue-tongued skink has a blue tongue, which she is very graciously showing us. She is trying to smell right now, or is smelling. Her tongue flicks. Every time a lizard or a snake flicks their tongue, they're smelling. Now, her tongue is blue because she also uses it as a defense. So if she is frightened, if something tries to eat her or scare her, she will flare her tongue. She'll do this. She'll spit her tongue out. That blue color is supposed to shock you or scare you into thinking that she is poisonous or venomous. She has no poison or venom. It is just a scare tactic. I have had Baxter here for 20 years now, and I have never seen her flare her tongue. I've only ever seen that on like pictures on the internet or in books. And so she's never been frightened enough to do it. So they are also really, really calm, easy to take care of lizards. They eat a lot of bugs. Bearded dragons do too, but they eat fruits and veggies as well. They have to have both. You can't feed them just fruits and veggies. They have to have bugs or some kind of protein source as well. What's really nice about the skinks is they'll eat like dead bugs. They'll eat, meat that just you get from the grocery store, whereas bearded dragons, their food has to be live. It has to be moving, kind of like our frog friends. So that is the blue-tongued skink. And this lizard has one of the coolest weapons for its tail is one of the coolest weapons. If you can see that, it's very spiky. And when I pet him, it doesn't hurt, but it's not something that's comfortable. I wouldn't want to use Andy here as a pillow. That's his protection though. This is called the Molly Aeromastics. These are lizards that come from the deserts of the Middle East and then Africa, Northern Africa. They like it hot. 120 degrees is a great day for Amali Aeromastics. They love it hot. So their enclosures are very, very warm when you keep them as pets. And they hardly ever drink water. Almost all the water they need, they get from their food. They're a lot like beardies and skinks in that they're really calm and laid back as pets, but they're pure herbivores. That means they only eat fruits and veggies. They don't eat meat. Although once in a while, I have seen Andy eat a bug here and there, but they certainly don't need it to survive. So sometimes people like these Aeromastics as pets a little bit better than the beardies or the skinks because they're, they don't need live bugs. But that's Andy, and I love him. He has never tried to hit me with his tail, but if he was scared of me or thought I was something that he needed to defend himself, he would whack with that, and I'm sure it would hurt. I don't think I would want him to whack me with his tail, but he's a complete sweetheart. By the way, all my lizards are super sweet, even enough to wear some hats. He's got a little winter hat there. He's got a hair on there. So they're super chill. I love it. There we go. There's Andy in his top hat. He's like, oh, frog lady, you embarrass me. Now, I want to show you my biggest lizard. He is so cool. You guys, I know will love him as much as I do. I think at first people get a little spooked because he's really big. But if you give him a chance, you'll see how fantastic he is. Oh, ta-da! Check out Chummy. Look at this guy. Isn't he amazing? Chummy is a tegu. Tegu is spelled T-E-G-U. Sometimes people call them tegus, and that's fine too, but here in America, we usually pronounce it tegu. This is the Argentine tegu. There are several different species, several different kinds of tegus. This comes from South America. He is also the biggest of the tegus, the Argentine. There are small tegus, but he is the largest of all the species. The Argentines are also big puppy dogs, meaning they're super laid back and sweet. Really, they can be pretty lazy. They actually can be so lazy that as pets, they get weight problems. They get kind of overweight because they eat so much and it's fun to feed them, fun to watch them eat, and then they don't really do much exercise. So you don't want your tegu to get too overweight because it can cause some health problems. You see that awesome tongue. Again, he's smelling with that. His sense of smell is amazing. It's much like a dog's. If you've ever heard about how well a dog can smell, tegus are very similar. They have an incredible sense of smell. They do have eyes just like us and all the other lizards. Their eyesight's nowhere near as good as ours, though. It's decent. It's not like they're blind or anything, but that sense of smell is their main sense. Now, Chummy, if you notice on his toes, he's missing a couple of toes. He actually was a rescue. He came to me that way. And the people who had him loved him very much, but unfortunately they didn't give him enough humidity in his cage. So like here in the summer, when you go outside, it's kind of hot. We call it humid. There's like a lot of moisture in the air. That's what they love. They love hot and humid type of weather. So in their cage, you have to spray a lot. You have to have like humidifier going if you don't spray a lot. And if you don't, then when they shed their skin, because all reptiles shed, the sheds get caught on their toes. It doesn't come off far enough, and then it can kind of act like a tourniquet, which then cuts off their blood supply, and then their toes fall off. So that's what happened to him many years ago. I've had Chummy now for about 10 years. They live like 45 years. They live a long time. So if you do ever get a tegu as a pet, it's like pretty much a lifelong pet. Now, how can you tell if Chummy's a girl or a boy? These big cheeks right here. So Chummy is a boy, and we can tell he's a boy because of those giant cheeks. If he was a girl, he'd be like, no cheeks. That's muscle, huge muscle right there. Like you know, if you feel that it's not hollow, it's thick. You know, it's kind of like if you felt the muscle on your arm. The boys have that so that they can fight each other, and they will fight each other with their mouths. They'll spar with their mouths, and they've got a good set of chompers in there. So this protects them from bites from the other tegu, as well as that muscle helps them bite the other one that they're fighting. You know what they fight over? Girls. They don't fight unless a girl's around. Some lizards will fight no matter what if they see another boy, but these seem to be a little smarter, meaning, you know, I'm not going to fight and waste my energy and maybe get injured. You know, I'm only going to do that if there's something worth fighting for. So if they see a girl, that's when they'll fight. And he's got hats too. He's actually got clothes. He can wear lots of clothes, shirts and things. He doesn't keep them on very well, but he probably weighs he's about 12 pounds, but they can get up to like 18, even 20 pounds. And some of them on the internet, if you look them up, they're really chunky. Like some of them I watch on like TikTok and stuff, they've got weight problems, but my vet says he's perfect. So he watches his figure. Okay. All right, how about some turtles? Who likes turtles? So people who aren't even huge fans of reptiles, I think most of them still like turtles. It's like they're cute and they're slow, and there's something about turtles that everybody just kind of has a fondness for. Turtles, you should know, have, of course, shells. Now, this is a turtle shell. There's no turtle in it. If you ever find a turtle shell without a turtle, that means that turtle has died. Something ate it, because a turtle can never leave its shell. Okay? When you are a turtle, you are born with your shell. So mama lays the eggs in the dirt. She covers them up. When they hatch, and this can be 3 months later, it can be a year later. It depends on the type of turtle for how long they're underground. But the baby comes out of the shell, and it has its shell on it from day one. It's kind of mushy in the beginning for maybe a week or so, and then it hardens up. When the turtle gets older, that shell grows with them. It's very much like bone. So when you're a baby, your bones are really little and they're growing. Right now you're getting bigger and they grow with you. You don't have to get new bones. They just grow with you. And that's very much like the turtle shell. Okay, so let's take a look at some turtles. Let's see here. This is one of my all-time favorite animals. This is Dirk. Dirk is a box turtle. He is also not only one of my favorites, but he's my oldest reptile that I own. This turtle is over 70 years old, 70. He's over that. We don't know how old he is for sure, but we know he's at least 70. So he was found back in the 1960s, wandering a suburb in Chicago, wandering a neighborhood. And where he was, there was no woodlands, there was no natural habitat where he would have been. So they assumed that he was somebody's pet that had gotten loose. Okay. This is a box turtle that could be found in the Chicago area, the eastern box turtle. We did used to have quite a big population, but now around Chicago we have so many roads and buildings that our forest preserves are wonderful, but they're still not big enough to really sustain this population, meaning we just don't have them around here anymore. If you go down to like southern Illinois and go down to Shawnee National Forest, they're just like, it's like almost every step you take you'll see one. So very, very common still down in other parts of the state. Now, Dirk is a boy box turtle, and in the box turtle world, there's 4 types of box turtles. Again, he's the eastern, but in the box turtle world, the boys all have red eyes. If you can see there, he's got those red eyes. The girls have more of like a brownish, orangish eye. Okay, so you can tell he's a boy right away just by the color of his eyes. He also has this scoop underneath him. When you're a girl turtle, it's flat. he's got a scoop. So that's the boy way to tell too. And boys have a little bit bigger feet. They're a little bit meatier in their legs. Okay. Turtles all have tails. So you can see a little tail there. Dirk was given to me by someone who took him in back in that 1960s. That man passed away and then he left Dirk to me. So I've had Dirk now for over 15 years. He was even on Animal Planet. They did a whole show on him about box turtles. It was a show called Pets 101. And they came and did a whole episode on box turtles and they filmed it. So he's quite famous. Don't talk to him about it though. It goes right to his head. That's all I know. He loves the ladies. He's got a girlfriend that he just absolutely adores, but she doesn't really like him. She's kind of like, leave me alone. I'm not interested. And he's always like, hey, how are you? How's it going? Let's hang out. And that's Dirk, my sweet little Dirk there. Okay. This is my friend Emmett. Look at his cute little nose. Emmett is a redfoot tortoise. So redfoot tortoises, boy, how did they get that name, right? If you see all those red spots all over his legs, that's how they got that name. They come from South America. They like it hot and humid, but pretty shady. So they actually like the rainforests. They don't spend a lot of time out in the open sun. They like it a little bit more shaded. You can see his little chin going in and out there. Now he's not breathing through that skin, but that he is getting his air. And you can kind of see it's coming through his nose, just like you and I are getting our air through our nose too. Emmett is about, I think 16, maybe 17 years old. He could double in size and he could easily live over 100 years. So he's going to outlive me someday. Maybe one of you guys will adopt him when I'm too old to take care of him. That is one thing to keep in mind about turtles. They really do live a long time. And so if you get one as a pet, it's probably going to be with you pretty much your whole life. And that's something to think about. So that is Emmett, the redfoot tortoise. By the way, he likes fruits and veggies. He can eat some bugs or meat once in a while, but he mostly should have fruits and veggies. So that's his thing. Dirk, by the way, the box turtle, he likes both. And worms are his all-time favorite. Loves worms. Okay. This turtle is a complete herbivore, meaning complete vegetarian. Now, you saw Emmett, he likes the rainforest, but this turtle likes it hot and dry. He likes the desert, and they come from Africa, a huge portion of the continent, sub-Saharan Africa. So they like it really hot, really dry, and they eat mostly grasses. So grasses are their number one food. Now, will he eat a piece of watermelon or an apple? Oh, he loves it. He thinks that's just the best thing ever, but he is not really allowed to have a whole lot of it. Because if you are an African desert tortoise, you don't get access to fruit so much in the desert. So they're mostly going to be eating those grasses. And the leopard tortoise, they're the 4th largest tortoise in the world. So they can get pretty big. Now, he's about 13 now. This is Telly, by the way. Telly's about 13 and he probably weighs about 8-9 pounds, but they can get up to 65 pounds. They can easily live 100 years, maybe even 150. So he'll be around a lot longer than me. And again, maybe one of you guys would want to take him in someday. I do have a son that likes the animals, but he's not super into the animals. So I think someday when I get too old, I'm gonna have to find a different kid to want to adopt some stuff. All right. So how about some snakes? Who likes snakes, right? If you're not a fan of snakes, maybe I can change your mind with some of my friends today. I have, first up, let's check out This is a little guy. He's not short so much. He's still kind of long, but he's super skinny. This is called the green snake. And the green snake actually lives around here. This is one of the snakes that we call a Chicago native. So when we talk about wildlife and we say it's native, that means it lives in our area. Or if I were to say, like, this animal is native to South America, that means it lives in South America. But it's really cool, you know, here in Illinois, it's a fairly cold state, especially where we live, up in the northern parts. And so the places that are more warm and more tropical have more reptiles and amphibians because they just like it warmer. But that doesn't mean we don't have some good stuff. We really, really do. And this is one of my favorites from the Chicago area. So this is called the green snake. They eat bugs and slugs. They don't eat any mice or rats. They have a tiny little mouth, so they can't really eat too many big things. But he's a great little bug eater. They live in prairies that are kind of wet. So most people don't ever see these. You'd have to go to a forest preserve with that kind of habitat because they're not really found in people's yards. We'll find snakes in our yards, but this is not the typical one you would find around here. You'd have to kind of go look in there in a different type of habitat. So his name is String Bean. They are just incredibly docile and sweet. Very, very nice snakes. The ones that I have even seen in the wild, they have never tried to bite or hurt me. They're trying to get away. I mean, they're afraid of me. So of course, you know, it's a wild animal in the wild. They want to get away from us. They don't know that I love them and I just want to say hi. But they have never tried to bite or anything. Super sweet little guys. And I feel like he's really smart because I will throw a handful of crickets into his enclosure and he will kind of take his whole body and push all the crickets. He makes them kind of all move this way. And then they all jump into the water bowl trying to get away from him. And then that's when he goes in. He goes in and gets them out of his water bowl. He kind of gets them all there in the corner and that's how he eats them. So I think that's really smart, kind of like ambushes them. This, by the way, is a snake bag. It's long and skinny. And this is how we transport snakes. If they're not in their enclosure or if we're not holding them, then we put them in this bag. We tie a little knot. He's down here in this area. I tie the knot up here and then he can't get out. A lot of the other enclosures I have, like my other critters who are not in the enclosure, they're in these types of travel bins, but snakes can get out of these super easy. So we put them in snake bags while we're transporting them or in between times they're in their enclosure. It's much like a mask. You guys are all used to wearing masks now. It's cloth, you can breathe through it. Snakes can breathe through it too. So sometimes people see me put a snake in the bag or take a snake out of the bag and they're like, what are you doing? That's weird, that's mean. But they actually can breathe very well through it and it keeps them safe until they get back. All right, now, you guys have all heard of coral snakes, probably. Coral snakes are venomous snakes that actually, they don't live around here. They live in other parts of the world. We have coral snakes that live in Florida area. We have coral snakes that live in the California, Southwest area, down in Mexico. We don't have any coral snakes here. And I don't have a coral snake either. I do not have any venomous snakes. So any snakes with venom, awesome snakes, super cool, but not good pets. If you were to get bit by any of these snakes you're seeing me handle today, not a big deal. Maybe a Band-Aid, okay? But if you were to get bit by a venomous snake, you're gonna go to the hospital. They're gonna have to treat you for that poison that the snake puts in your body. So you're not gonna get bit by a poisonous snake or a venomous snake if you leave it on the ground or leave it out in the wild. They really people when people are messing with them. Anyway, this is not the coral snake, but he kind of wants to act like one, or she actually. This is a milk snake. And this is called the Mexican milk snake. The Mexican milk snake actually eats coral snakes. So this snake can even be bitten by a coral snake. The coral snake can put poison in the snake, completely immune to it. They have no problems with that venom. You know, if a coral snake bit me, I'd be in trouble. I'd have to go to the hospital. But if a coral snake bit this snake, he's like, whatever, I'm still gonna eat you. So they have a natural immunity. But he also, not only does he eat coral snakes, or she eat coral snakes, she actually also tries to pretend she is one. So she has this red coloring that kind of shows, hey, I am venomous. You don't want to mess with me. Again, she's not venomous. She's just pretending. So this is again, the Mexican milk snake. There's several types of milk snakes that kind of use this. We even have the Eastern milk snake here in the Chicago area. But this is the Mexican milk snake, and they're fairly small, very sweet snakes, really calm. They make really good pets. You might wonder, well, how do you get coral snakes to feed it if that's what they eat? She eats mice. She would eat any small rodent as well. So all my snakes eat mice or rats, and I order them. They come to me already. They're frozen, just like when you get frozen meat at the grocery store. And then I just thaw them out and throw it into the enclosure, and then they find it and eat it. So snakes do swallow all their food whole. They have teeth, but not teeth to chew. So sometimes on TV or in cartoons or horror movies, it looks like they just swallow it really fast. It takes a while. So like for this guy to eat a mouse, she's gonna take at least 15 minutes to get it all the way down. Okay, so it takes a while. And the bigger the animal they're eating, the longer it's gonna take. All right. So if you are also wondering, snakes are full of bones. This is a snake skeleton here. It's in this plexiglass. But all snakes are full of bones. They have a skull, and then they have vertebrae just like we do, those backbone parts, and lots of ribs. So they have a ton of bones in there. It's not like an earthworm or a bug. They are vertebrates. Two of my favorite snakes. This is a corn snake. Corn snakes are, I call them the golden retriever of the snake world. So if you know what a golden retriever is, they're like dogs that are like, I love people, I'm so sweet, I'm so easy to take care of, I love everybody. Corn snakes are kind of like that. They're really easy to take care of as pets, and they're really friendly snakes. So, you know, when kids say, hey, I've never had a snake before, my mom and dad are saying I can get a snake, what snake should I get? The corn snake's like the best choice. That's my opinion, but I really do think they're fantastic. So this is Chester. Chester belonged to a teacher, and she retired, and nobody at the school wanted the snake. So she's like, you know, he's such a sweet guy. I've had him for 10 years. He's been with all these kids every day. Kids would hold him in the classroom. So I still want him to educate. So now he's been with me another 10 years. So that makes him over 20. Snakes live, on average, you know, we used to always say about 25, but research is showing they live actually even longer than that. So I have a friend who has a ball python that has a snake that's 43 years old, and he got him in 2nd grade, and that man is in his 50s now. He's still got the snake. So really cool. But this is Chester, sweet corn snake. They don't live here in the Chicago area. They're not even truly an Illinois snake. There's a few reports of them being down Southern Illinois, but corn snakes are mostly southeastern United States. So like places like Florida, they're everywhere. And you can see he's an excellent climber. Now they like the woodlands. They like to be in the woods. And they're usually on the ground, but if they want to climb, they're very good at doing it. And so a lot of times, you know, we call these corn snakes neck snakes because they'll hang around, they'll hold on to you and hold on real well. If I was at the library today, you guys would all get a chance to hold Chester and let him be your next snake for a while, but sadly we can't do that. But this is someday we'll meet again, I'm sure, and you'll get to have Chester on you. So do you think he's slimy? He looks slimy, doesn't he? Totally dry. All the reptiles are totally dry. So he has absolutely no slime on him whatsoever. I know it looks that way, especially his underside is super glossy, but there's no slime. He's just super smooth and he feels great. He's kind of like a fidget toy. He's kind of like a he just feels cool. It's just awesome. So if you've never held a snake before, I hope that you will have that opportunity soon. And hopefully once the pandemic's over, we'll all be able to do it again. That's the bad thing about Zoom, right? We can't actually touch or hold anything, but it's better than nothing, I guess. So I want to show you one last snake. This is called a bull snake. Now, bull snakes are the biggest snakes in Illinois. They're pretty common in the Chicago area. The one I'm going to show you, her name is Stickers, and she actually has something called albinism. So she was bred for that. She doesn't have her normal colors or pigments. Pigments are things in our body that like give us our eye color, our hair color, our skin color. She would normally have brownish black pigments, but when an animal has albinism, they're lacking that pigment. So she looks yellow, actually. Normally she'd be more of a blackish brown color. If you were to see a bull snake in the wild around here, it would most likely not be yellow. There are, snakes that get albinism in the wild, but mostly we only see it as pets. Because once an animal has albinism, if they're a wild snake, they can't camouflage as well. And so lots of animals see them right away and eat them. Camouflage is one of a snake's best defenses. So bull snakes will get eaten by hawks, owls, coyotes, raccoons. They like to stay hidden from those animals, and the camouflage helps them. If you're bright, beautiful yellow, that's going to be pretty hard to hide. Now, animals with albinism have what looks like red eyes, but it's actually, you're just seeing the blood behind their clear eyes. Their eyes are actually clear. And then animals with albinism, you're seeing those blood vessels behind it. So it looks like she has red eyes, but actually she has clear eyes. Now, bull snakes, again, they're our largest snake here in Illinois. Stickers here is about 6 feet long. From tip to tip, but the biggest bull snake ever found in Illinois was 10 feet long. So that's a pretty big snake that Illinois can say we have. These snakes, very much like we have the fox snake as well, these snakes are one of the best snakes to see in your yard, your shed, your garage. And I say that because if you see them there, they're doing you a favor. They're only going to be in your yard, your garage, your shed if they're finding food. And guess what their food is? Mice and rats. Most people don't want mice or rats in their garage or their shed because they chew things up they shouldn't. They go to the bathroom everywhere. They make messes. This snake is perfectly willing to help you out, and for free. So if you were to see the snake in the wild, she might be pretty scared if she's a wild snake and she sees you because you're a big animal. So believe it or not, these animals act like rattlesnakes. They shake their tail, they vibrate it. I'm trying to find her tail here. She does not have any scales or any rattles on the end, but she can vibrate it so fast against rocks or the ground or the side of the building you might see her at, and it sounds like a rattlesnake. She can also hiss really loud. And so she puts on this big, what we call threat display. And I can tell you right now, even if you're a snake lover, if you see that all going on, it's kind of scary. You're like, oh, I don't want to mess with it. People will see that in their yard, and then they think that stickers or animals like stickers, bull snakes or fox snakes are venomous and rattlesnakes, and they end up killing them. They are not. They're completely harmless, and they're doing you a favor. So if you ever see a snake in your yard, you don't pick it up or poke it or anything like that. You can maybe take a picture from a nice distance and enjoy it, but you want to leave it there because it's there because it's eating something you don't want. I promise you that. And you can see she's flicking her tongue, smelling. Again, snakes have amazing sense of smell. Eyesight, not so good, but smelling, number one way they figure out what's going on around them. Again, I've had stickers now for over 20 years. And I hope I have her another 20 because I just love her. She's great. She's another one that everybody holds and has some neck time with, or some fun time with. So she's also my garbage disposal. So, you know, I get all these mice out of the freezer. I thaw them out so I can feed all my snakes. And a lot of times somebody doesn't want to eat. You know, you guys know that. Mom or dad gives you food and you're like, I'm not in the mood. You leave something on your plate. Well, mom or dad doesn't want to waste the food, right? I will take that uneaten mouse, and Stickers always eats it. She'll always eat hers, and whoever doesn't want to eat her. She was actually getting a little chubby for a while, so I had to like back off. My vet was like, she's getting a little overweight, but she's back to where she should be. So she looks really good. So that's Stickers the bull snake. All right, you guys have questions or comments? One thing I do want to let you know is I'm upstairs now. This is like my kind of kitchen area. I don't keep the animals upstairs. I have a big basement where I keep all the animals, and I just have to bring them up here for the program because the light is so much better and I'm closer to my router and all that good stuff. So if you want to see what my basement looks like, I do have some videos on YouTube. So if your parents want to help you out, if you just go to Frog Lady Presentations on YouTube, I've got some videos that show you what that all looks like. And it is a mini zoo. It is a little zoo down there. So it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. And I'm so glad I got to share those with you today. And I'm so glad you guys wanted to be with me today. So I'm going to take any questions or any comments that you have. And I'm going to let Miss Jen do that on the screen because I think she knows what she's doing.
Okay, well, thank you for everyone that joined us. This will finish up the recorded portion of today's program, and we will start with questions in just 1 minute. Thank you all for joining us, and be sure to check out vapld.info for information on upcoming events at the library, and you can see more of the Frog Lady at thefroglady.com. Thank you so much.
And I